everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan. I am coming at you today from my floor, surrounded by books, and I've got a book haul for you. This is my first book haul on my channel. I honestly didn't know if I'd be filming any book hauls. I don't buy all that many books. I don't know what it is recently. I've been sent a good number of books. I have gone ahead and purchased a good number of books, inspired by a variety of things, being at used bookstores, the Blackout kind of initiative to buy books by Black authors, and then just some books I'm really excited about and that I hadn't gotten around to buying. I figured while I was at it, I might as well scoop them up and then I can go on a little buying freeze for a little while after this. This is definitely adding to my unread TBR, which I like to keep pretty low, like under 40 books, and I think now with these books I'm at like over 50, so I definitely need to work on actually reading these books as soon as possible. I plan to read some of them for the reading rush. Yeah, I think I'll just get into it. I have 16 books to talk about in a bunch of different categories, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the first book I was actually sent by Emma at Emma Novella, who was one of the co-hosts for a read-along of this book, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This is a science fiction book, and the read-along was in preparation for the sequel of this book to come out, which actually just came out July 7th. And I had heard of this book, but I hadn't really heard what the actual premise was about until just recently, and when I did, I knew that I had to read it. I love science fiction, and this book has some really great ratings from a lot of people that I trust, and Emma and Karis were each giving away a copy of the book, and so I entered, and Emma sent me one. I read it immediately. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I cannot wait to read the sequel. I was also sent Beach Read by Emily Henry. This was sent to me by Sydney over at Sid Bookworm. I had sent her like a macrame piece, and she sent me a book in return, which is super nice. And this is an adult romance book. I have not read it yet. I plan to, hopefully soon. Me and Sydney might buddy read it if we can get our schedules to align, but if not, that's okay too. I just want to read this book really badly. I've seen a lot of excellent reviews, and it sounds like it's a little bit deeper, more emotional of a romance, which is my type of romance. So yeah, I think I'll really enjoy it, and hopefully we'll get to it soon. I was also sent With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I was sent this by Joanne over at Joannotations. I also sent her a macrame piece, and she sent me a book in return. I had already read this book before I put it on my wish list, but I loved it so much I gave it 5 stars. I had listened to it on audio, but because it was so beautiful and because I knew that the physical book itself was so beautiful, I wanted a physical copy, and so Joanne sent that to me, so thank you so much, Joanne. This book is just gorgeous. Without the dust jacket on, it's super pretty. With the dust jacket on, it's super pretty, so I'm so happy to have this. It's a YA contemporary book about this girl who is in high school, and she actually has a daughter, and she's right around the age where she's trying to figure out what she wants to do next, whether she wants to go to college, what she wants to go to college for, how she can continue to support her daughter. It's so good. I also recommend the audiobook. Elizabeth Acevedo herself narrates it, and it is excellent. Next book I was sent is Slay by Brittany Morris. This was sent to me by my friend Sam over at Sam Says. I had sent him a couple books off his wish list, and then he returned the favor without me knowing. Slay is one of my new favorite books. I had already read it by the time he sent it to me. Again, I read it on audio and wanted a physical copy because I loved it so much. This is about a high school girl named Kira who is Black, and she has created her own virtual reality online video game for Black players to be able to play in a space where they feel safe and where they're not getting harassed when they're just trying to play a video game. It's full of Black culture and Black references and Black empowerment, and it was so much fun to read about this character. Kira is one of my new favorite characters of all time. I think it's amazing that we see a character like her programming and running her own video game. That's just really awesome. So I adored this book. I gave it 5 stars. Highly recommend it. Thank you so much, Sam, for giving me a copy. And then last book that I was sent is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is a YA contemporary book, and I actually had won a giveaway on Twitter for this book, and it sounds super happy and cute, and it's about this Black girl in high school who is trying to run to become prom queen, I think, because with becoming prom queen comes a scholarship, and it sounds like a Black story that's full of happiness and joy and not just pain, which is super important to also read about when you're prioritizing Black books about Black characters, is to throw in some light and happy ones. And so I'm definitely excited to read this. Have not read it yet. Plan to maybe, hopefully, get to it in the reading rush. By the time this video is up, my reading rush TBR will have already been put up, so you'll see a couple more books mentioned, but this is one I hope that I can get to that week. And then moving on to books that I purchased myself. This next set of books I purchased at a used bookstore. I wasn't looking for anything in particular when I walked in. I was just kind of letting books speak to me. So the first book that I picked up is The Mothers by Brit Bennett. The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett is a book that is a new release that I've seen getting a lot of hype. I haven't seen as much about The Mothers, but when I looked it up on Goodreads, it looked like it had some good reviews. So I think I want to read this book before picking up The Vanishing Half. I hope to read both of them within a timely manner, but this one is also pretty short, so should hopefully be a pretty quick read whenever I get to it. I have no idea what it's about though. I also picked up The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This author duo, this is a mystery thriller, and this duo has written 3 total thrillers together, I believe. I have read the other 2, but I have not read this one, The Wife Between Us. And I believe this is their first one that they wrote together, and from what I've seen, people have some differing opinions about, like, if you liked their second book, you probably don't like this one, and I did not like that other book, and so I'm hoping that that does mean that I will really enjoy this. I haven't had a 5-star from them yet, but I'm hoping that this one could do it. And then the last book that I picked up at the used bookstore is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this is a literary fiction novel. I've seen it floating around. I've seen good reviews. It is a Black author, and so I definitely wanted to support. It sounds like it's a pretty emotional, important read, so I definitely plan to prioritize it sometime this year. And then I picked up some books as part of the Blackout Publishing initiative, where there was a week or some amount of days where people were spreading the word to buy as many Black books as possible during that week to try to shoot them up on the bestsellers lists, because Black authors often are underrepresented on those best-selling lists. So I picked up 2 books by Angie Thomas. I got The Hate U Give and On the Come Up. I have not read either of these before. I've seen them everywhere, as I'm sure you have. I know they're important books to read. I just, for some reason, have been putting them off. And that ends now. I definitely plan to read these in the near future. I also picked up a couple of nonfictions. So I picked up So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. Pretty self-explanatory nonfiction book about white supremacy, police brutality, and just the racial issues that a lot of us have been ignoring for so long in America. Definitely will be reading this very soon. It's very short, so it should be easily readable and digestible in the near future. Just part of my anti-racism education that I am making a priority, not just now, not just immediately, but into the long-term future. And going along with that, I also got How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Again, self-explanatory. I don't need, it says it in the title. It's How to Be an Anti-Racist. Things that I definitely am interested in reading, very excited to educate myself even more. And then lastly, the last short stack of books that I have. I went to a Barnes & Noble for the first time in a long time. I actually had a gift card. Of course I had my mask. I was staying socially distant, but I was so excited to just be in a bookstore, able to buy some new books for the first time in a long time. So I picked up I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This is about a non-binary teen, and I don't think that I've read any books so far about non-binary main characters or non-binary characters at all, at least that I can think of. That's definitely a problem. This is a very popular one that I see around all the time on BookTube. After reading this, I plan on looking even more into other books with non-binary main characters, trans main characters, just because that's definitely a weak spot in my reading library already. Very excited to get to this. I also picked up The Bromance Book Club. This is a romance about, I believe, this married couple where the man is struggling to figure out what his wife wants from him, and so he joins this book club with all of his guy friends where they read romance novels and use them to figure out what girls want, what their wives want from them, in order to hopefully save their marriage. I've heard great reviews about this. Like I've said a couple times, romances, I require them to be a little bit more hard-hitting in order for me to really love them, and I've heard that this one is deeper than it seems. It's more than it seems. And there are 2 other books already for this series, so if I'm gonna get on the bandwagon, I gotta hurry up and read the first one. I also picked up The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, and in my Reading Rush TBR, I said that I want to read this book, but I did not own it yet. I was planning on reading it as an audiobook. I think I'm still planning on reading it as an audiobook, but I could not resist this beautiful cover. Again, under the dust jacket, it's so pretty. I have a thing for books with pink spines. I don't have very many on my shelves, and so this will be a really fun one to display. This is about a black gay man, as far as I understand, written by a black gay man. I don't know if it's autobiographical. I don't know if it's autobiographic at all, or if it's completely fictional, but I know that it's told in verse, and I know that it's a quick read, and so, like I said, one of my top priorities during the reading rush. And then the last book that I purchased, I don't usually buy new releases of books as soon as they come out, but this is one that I was so excited for, and it is An Absolutely Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. Like I said, this is the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, which I just read and gave it 5 stars, one of my new favorite sci-fi books. I'm hoping this one lives up to what that first book was. It's quite a bit longer, so I'm very interested to see where the story goes. I'd love to know who else is reading this right now. If any of you have read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing and are planning on picking this up in the near future and reading it, let me know. If you want a buddy read, if you want to discuss it. Don't know exactly when I'll get to it. It actually probably could work for the reading rush because it matches my birthstone a little bit, but I didn't have it in my original TBR, so maybe it might have to wait till like the beginning of August. I don't know exactly when I'll get to it, but I picked it up right away for a reason, so I have to prioritize it, and I will be reading it in the near future. And I know I've said that for all of these books, so I have a lot of reading to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.